Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Boerne's online service. We're so glad you're with us this morning. We talk about simple faith, things that sometimes we take for granted, and we'll be discussing things that have to do with the very basics of our practice. I'm so glad that you're tuning in at home. We'd love for you to be with us if you're able. This is the house that love built. Those of you who've tuned in have known that ever since you've seen us. But when you come here, you really feel the love that comprises what I call the house that love built. I'm so glad you're with us, and I want you to know, and I'm sure you understand, that we exist with your free will tithes, offerings, and gifts. If you receive benefit from what you see here on Sunday, I ask you to press the PayPal button at the bottom of the page and consider giving your best gift. If you prefer, you can send your gift to Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. That's Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. Anyway, we're glad you're here, and I want you to realize that I offer you this invitation right now. Come join the family.
Sunday morning, and as we take our gratitude of November into the celebration of Christmas. My name is Pam. We're glad to have Melinda Brown providing our music today. Please stand. as we sing the joy song, 152, Only Believe. I think we can be seated. Inside your bulletin, you will find a prayer request form for any prayer requests you may have. You can drop them in the offering basket later, and they will be put with other prayer requests. Our own prayer team prays over them for a week, and they are also sent to Silent Unity, where they are prayed over for a month. Our announcements for Sunday, November 28th. Remember, you are welcome to take the insert out of your bulletin, but please leave the bulletin jackets here so we can repurpose them throughout the month. Sunday morning book discussion every Sunday from 9:30 to 10:30 in fellowship room. Come for coffee, tea, and stimulating conversation. We have several ongoing activities via Zoom. Book study on What the Mystics Know is held Sundays at 7 p.m. There are 3 Course in Miracles groups, Monday at 7 p.m., Tuesday at 2 p.m., led by Bob Patterson, Wednesday at 8 p.m., led by Reverend Jay. Pathlighters is 8 p.m. on Thursdays. The log-in info is in your order of service under Unity Classes and Activities. You can also find links on our Facebook page. Now we will have the Daily Word read by Chris Diaz.
As we quietly and gently prepare for the reading of the daily word, we remember that we are in spirit with millions of daily word readers and churches throughout the world. The Christ candle is lit as a reminder of the Spirit of God within all of us, which we call the Christ within. The word for today is hope and faith. The affirmation is, this Advent, my hope leads me to unwavering faith in God. My belief in goodness of the world, others, myself, and God begins with hope. Maybe hope is all I can muster after a period of doubt or disappointment. As I feel hopeful, I begin to believe that new possibilities and better outcomes are available to me. My hopeful feelings lead to faith, a certainty that the goodness I could only sense before is the actual nature of life. With faith, I now direct my thoughts towards goodness, wholeness, and my heart's desires. With gratitude for my awakening, I use faith to dismantle doubt and limitation. I hold only the best thoughts for myself. I know and feel in the depths of my soul that the good I desire is already mine. With unwavering faith and deep gratitude, I claim it now. from Psalm 62, verse 5. For God alone my soul waits in silence, for my hope is from him. The affirmation for today again, this Advent, my hope leads me to unwavering faith in God. My name is Chris. Thank you for worshiping with our Unity of Boerne family.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
That was beautiful.
Please stand for the congregational affirmation, number 25, Shining Woods. The joy of the Lord is your strength. God in me is infinite wisdom. He shows me what to do. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct thy path. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Naught can disturb me, for Christ is my peace and my voice. All things work together for good. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Faith is the strength of the soul inside, and lost is the man without it. The greatest teaching, if given, is Christ in you, the hope of glory. God is my help in every need. Please remain standing for celebration song 125, Work Wonders from Within.
Work wonders from within. That's where to look within. There's no use looking somewhere else for power and need to win. Work wonders from within. Be sure to look within. Just take your mind from how your fears don't think it's too late to begin. In you and me, there's power to be. In you and me, there's power that set us free. My course is up to me. Of course it's up to me. So I'll set my mind to use my power if wonders I want to see.
Please remain standing for our opening prayer. Together.
Unity of Boerne is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people.
Thank you. Please be seated. I will now turn it over to Reverend Jay for the blessing of the prayer request and remainder of the service.
Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Boerne. We are a praying church. We affirm the best. And right now, I'd like to give time for any of you all who have prayer requests that you'd like to write down. If you have any, we'll wait. If not, we'll come up and have the prayer. Okay. Thank you for your Our dear infinite presence, you know what's on the hearts and minds of the people who have written requests that are represented in this prayer box. We affirm with our united mental force of love that good is being done in the lives of these dear ones. We know, we affirm, we believe, we trust. We surround these requests with our loving we know divine action is taking place in the lives of these dear ones. Be with them in their joys, their celebrations, their defeats, their upsets, the entire gamut. We know that you are present. We affirm that, we invoke that, we believe that, and we trust that right now. And so it is. Amen. You are right where you need to be to start. As a matter of fact, it's been going on for you before you even made the idea to start. You're recognizing when you have faith, something that has been guiding you all along in the first place. Now, you may not have used it in the best way. You may not have made the best decision. You may not have aligned your ideas with the very highest inside you. But we do live by faith. In fact, even the most dogged, persistent atheist lives by faith. There are certain things that they have faith in. Usually, they have to do with the physical world. But those of us who practice faith, whatever it may be, we see things that aren't as if they are through our faith. And in Scripture it says we live by faith, not by sight. And I'd like to talk to you about that this morning. What we see outside of us is outpictured thought. And so metaphysics and unity and all of these wonderful new thought ideas rightfully put the responsibility on us to make our lives what we'd like them to be, lining up with the highest and best we know inside of us. For example, we know that guilt, anger, resentment, fear, frustration, negativity, all of these feel bad. We don't really like to carry them, but you know, we have an ego that really likes to collect these as a way of saying, see, I was right about this or that, or him or her. And sometimes the hardest thing about coming to faith, about the realization of faith, is that you have to walk back and say, these things in my past formed me today. And so as I come to faith, whatever they may be, positive or negative, they formed me. So when I come to a moment of formal faith, I feel like I'm so low because I'm carrying all these things with me, and I don't know really where to begin. And it's about this that I'd really like to talk this morning, about keeping our channels open, keeping ourselves clear. In fact, there's one spiritual discipline that talks about going clear. It's very controversial. It's the Church of Scientology. But you know what? I find that in almost every discipline of faith, there is something that I can use. And I hope you feel that way. And the idea of going clear means that we release these things that no longer work for us. In unity or metaphysics, we call giving it up, handing it over, giving it over to the Spirit of the living God inside of us. But we can do that. It's wonderful to do that, but we have a memory that tends to remind us of who we think we are when we become who we really are. Now, let me back that up just for a minute. We know ourselves so well, we think that we're being pious and having faith is going to be somehow hypocritical because I know what I've done, and I know those secret thoughts I have, and I know those things that I don't want anybody else to know. And what happens? We carry that with us, and then when we introduce a new idea, it gets grafted in to the old idea, and then we say it doesn't work. I'm asking you this morning to transcend one idea of yourself that you may have had up till now to grasp a higher idea of what can be. Now, I entitled this message, Simple Faith. I didn't say it was easy faith. There are things that each of us are called to meet, go through, endure, that can sometimes almost take the starch out of us. I was reminded of that again this week. Kitty cat that was 17 years old, that was my dad's, that I loved so much, and reminded me of him. She crawled up on a chair, she stretched out. I knew something was a little different because she wasn't breathing her normal way, and I had an appointment to make right away. But I stayed as long as I could, and I knew she was somewhat comfortable. And by the time that I had gotten home, she was gone. And I thought to myself, this is a world of beginnings and endings on the physical level. But I have faith that this animal, being God's idea, is eternal, as you are God's idea and eternal. That is hardwired and done. All you have to do is realize it. And when I removed her from the chair that she crawled up in, everything had changed, but nothing had changed. She was still the kitty. It was just that God force in her decided, as we say, to cross the rainbow bridge and go and be with God's beloved. You can tell I'm an animal lover, and I'm sure most of you all in here are too. And of course, there was a little bit of a reminder that since that was my dad's cat, and he just passed away 2 years ago, there was a little bit of grief interposed on that. But at that moment, when I felt not the best, I realized that my faith informs me that nothing that God makes, no idea of God's, can be lost. Physicists and neuroscientists are telling us that energy cannot be destroyed. I'm seeing spirituality and science come together. I don't know about you, but you can't destroy energy. And we know that our soul and inside of us is the God energy. We've affirmed that for hundreds of years. And so it seems the two are meeting. So I say simple faith, but I know it's not easy. It wasn't easy for me to lose little Tilly, and it won't be easy to lose anything else I love. That's the nature of this world. It's changeable. Things come and they go. Even Scripture says it comes to pass, not to stay. We live in a world of linear time. And there's a beginning and an ending. In Ecclesiastes, it says, to all things there is a purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to give, a time to receive. I'm sure you're familiar with that verse or that song. And so in the midst of relativity, we stand on the truth of being. And what is that? That God is good and omnipresent and omniscient and inside us every moment of the day. So if those of you who are tuning in from online right now, or any of you out here struggle with the idea of faith, I'd like to give you a little reminder this morning that it's not quite as hard as you think it is. It's as hard as we make it. We are our own harshest critics. We are the ones who remember and hold on to things sometimes for years, as I've said, that people have told us about ourselves and that we have believed without question. Today, I challenge you to question, particularly anything that limits you. Limitation is not for you and it's not for me. Now, we may decide to walk in a direction that ultimately we find isn't for us, but we've learned so much in the meantime. And perhaps that learning process leads us to something that is for us. What I'm saying is life is an experiment, and you are the chemist, so to speak, in the laboratory of your life. You get to choose certain ideas. You get to walk in different directions to find out what works for you. And the most important thing that I can tell you is don't let somebody else's opinion about you and what you can do form your opinion about yourself. You be inner directed. You be self-directed. When you believe in yourself, you are believing in the God who made you. Because there is no other place that God is beside you. Have you ever heard the saying, God has no other hands but ours, no other feet but ours? We are here in this world as ambassadors and representatives of the truth that made us. And what do we see when we look in the mirror, and what do people see when they look at our lives? That's true witness. It's one thing when somebody walks up to you unbidden and says something about, have you been born again? Have you accepted the faith that I'm talking about? Usually these folks are trying to pull people into their churches or pull people into their groups. In New Thought and Unity, we try to pull you back to yourself. We say it begins with you. A good you, a happy you, a constructive you lifts all of us. But a guilt-ridden you, and an angry you, and a judgmental you pulls us all down. Because there are currents of thoughts. And I'm going to go really a little more deeper than I planned this morning. There are realms inside each one of us. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. Some people call these realms the astral, the causal, the mental, the etheric, and the soul. Those are big names. What do they mean? Simply different levels of being. Consciousness, dreaming, praying. Those are metaphysical words for things that we've done and taken for granted for hundreds of years. I'd like to get into those realms as they come to simple faith. When you close your eyes and meditate, you're going into a different realm. From this world, you're removing yourself from the hurly-burly hustle. And hopefully your mind calms down enough for you to be able to experience meditation. The next realm is the mental, where you remember, and everything that you've ever done is recorded in your subconscious mind. And that realm interposes with the first one. And then after that you have the etheric realm, which is the place that God presides, or what some people call your aura, the light that's around you. You see, just by me talking about 3 of these realms, maybe you're getting the idea that there's more going on in this than what you can see. Edgar Casey said something so wonderful. He said, basically our purpose is to bring light to the world. But there are certain steps to get there and to do it in a way that works. Some people can fall to their knees and say, Lord, forgive me for being a sinner. And that may work for them. But there comes a time that they resent the idea that they are this sinner they've been told they are. And the simple faith that they had tends to wane, because you can't hold an adversely negative opinion about yourself as the basis of who you are and be happy. I would rather deal with these realms all day long and learn what they mean and go into the practice than I would fake it and say, well, I've done what the religious authorities prescribed for me, I'm okay. If you don't feel okay, it's not okay and it's not working. I brought up this morning to tell you that as January comes and February and on into the spring, we're going to get into some depth about this. You've been told to have faith, and you've been told to trust God, and you've been told to believe in yourself. But what does that mean for you? One size may fit all in one way, but each of us is an individual who has gone through different things in their lives, and it is particularly personal to you. And it wouldn't be fair for you to say, I gave faith a try, and it just didn't work, if you didn't have the tools that go with that, which is, first of all, as we say, understanding who, what, and whose you are. That's very important. And secondly, to know that thought is creative. Even when you think you're right, even when you believe that you're right and it can't be any other way, you're going to create that idea in your mind, and you will carry that with you into other situations where you may need to learn something, and it collides with the idea you have of yourself. To put it simply, to be clear, to give faith a chance, to really be able to walk this walk, we have some mental housekeeping to do. I've talked to you about the 7-day mental diet of Emmett Fox. That's one heck of a way to cleanse. It's in your face, and it's there, and it's hard, and that 7 days, as I've told you, took me 1.5 years to complete. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is by writing automatically. Take pen, piece of paper, and I don't care what it is, just start. And you'll find about halfway through, or maybe at the beginning, depending on you, you'll find that the words that come out are things that you need to know, or you need to remove from yourself, or be able to look at objectively. The next practice is to be able to look at yourself inside and say, yes, this was me at this time, that I did this, that, and the other, and I did the best I knew at the time. I don't look at any of you and think that at any time you ever looked at somebody else and said, I want to make it as hard on you as possible. I want to inflict my pain on you. I want to hurt you emotionally, mentally, whatever. Oh, there may be times we have thought, gee, I wish I could get back at somebody for what they did, or, see that they understand that they hurt me. But generally, we don't want to inflict pain, suffering, and heartache on people. Those that do are filled with it themselves. Are you understanding that you can't do anything out here that you haven't first done in here? Another way of saying this is, what you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. There's so many people who think that they are covering their negativity, or that they're righteously negative, or that they have reason to hold on to things. And what they don't realize is that any people that are somewhat attuned around them can see that. Basically, they're not happy people. And the acid test of life to me is that you have happiness. That doesn't mean you like every experience you go through, but that you're willing to course correct those things inside you that you know need correction. And when I mentioned those realms a minute ago, those were fancy ways of saying I can correct the many parts of me. And as we go on through the spring, I am going to delve deeper into this, because far from being etheric and non-attainable, it's some of the most practical and usable things that you can learn and do. And some of you may be already familiar with that. I also say this to you because I was told quite clearly, not by any audible voice, but during a time of profound grief, I was told and I heard in my spirit that it was time for me to step higher in my congregation, in my ministry, in my life, in my teaching, in my speaking, and to enter a phase that has been prepared for me that I didn't even necessarily know about. What I'm really saying is, I want to take each one of you, and that's probably not the best way to put it, but perhaps be a part of being on a journey with you that realizes that beyond mere words, beyond human concepts, as Rumi said, beyond the conditioned ideas of right and wrong, there is a field of pure being, and I'll meet you there. The pure being is what we want. This is the elan vital. This is where we get to be. It's kind of like when we're talking to ourselves. We know we're talking to ourselves because we have a bass in the background. We'll say, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, and I wish I had done this. But who is the one that wishes? What is the one steady part of you that talks? Or maybe just is. That doesn't have an opinion. That just is the observer, the witness, and the one that's aware. So the simple faith I'm talking about means going inside and clearing the levels that have hurt, and knowing that you are a miracle, and knowing that your life is a do-it-yourself project, and that all these things that you may have heard about that have to do with spirit and metaphysics and so forth are not just etheric concepts, but workable practices that have been for hundreds of years. I think everybody in this room has the ability to be a master. I don't think it's saved for sages, avatars, gurus, and so forth. I think each one of us can do those things. Wasn't it Christ Jesus who said, "These things I do, and you will do greater because I go to the Father"? What was the greater? It was for you to be a bigger version of yourself, the beingness of you. If there's anything that I would want to leave you with this morning, and I know I've mentioned some interesting concepts, or they may sound to you like they're sort of far out or whatever, I can tell you this. I found they're the most practical, workable, usable things I've ever done in my life. But I want to also say that beyond all that I speak of, beyond all the things that you may have inside you that compete for your attention, that raise you up one moment and put you down the next, the voices you hear that hurt, the voices you hear that help, beyond all that, there is a love inside you greater than words could ever wrap themselves around. Your very basis of being is love. And if you lean into that love, you're going to go very far before you even start your journey. Loving people live in a loving universe. Angry people live in an angry universe. I'm sure you've known that. And they'll find reasons to justify their ego position. Happy people find happy things to justify their position. So much of what we go through is the ability to say, or we want to have the ability to say, I'm right. And I'm asking this morning, and I'm sure I know the answer, but think about it. Would you rather be right, or would you rather be happy? Would you rather say divine love has always and will always meet every human need? Or would you rather say, I'm in this thing alone and I'm doing the best I can? Would you rather hold on to any resentment or frustration or hurt or upset that you've had up till this time? Or would you rather say, I'd like to try walking in this newness of life that I heard the Master talk about? It's up to you. Your choice is honored. It's honored by the Spirit inside you because you're given free will. See, God could have made cutouts and robots, but that wasn't the case. You are an individual. You are blessed with certain gifts and graces. Have you given them a chance to bloom? Have you given them a chance to come forward inside you? And what do you need to do to allow that to happen? Only you know that. As I've said so many times, because I feel it so deeply, it's those things at 3 o'clock in the morning that we think about that are the things that guide us, believe it or not. Because those things that come at that time usually are accusatory. They say, I wish you'd have done it this way, you could have done it that way, why did you do this? On and on that kind of voice goes. And then we get up in the daytime and we try to suck it up and say, I'm okay. Well, there is such a thing as faking it till you make it. But make sure that when you're faking it till you make it, you give yourself a chance. You forgive yourself for those things that you would have done better had you known better. And sometimes we can only see that in retrospect. And sometimes it's because we mature. But the subconscious never sleeps. And it's ageless. And unfortunately, sometimes it can remind us of those things that we'd rather not think about. And I'm saying it's those things that we don't want to think about that are precisely what we need to think about. Because then we are clear receptacles of the grace and the power that we are heirs to. We are heirs to the kingdom. All of us. No matter how lowly, no matter how exalted, we all have the same Spirit of God inside us. The living truth. The ground of our being. The essence of our being. It's been called all sorts of names. How about just beingness? And when that beingness is honored and recognized, then your life can become a work of art. You have a canvas to draw on that is not full of marks and scribbles from the past. It's brand new. Behold, I make all things new. Does that sound familiar? You get to wipe that clean because you've either forgiven it, you've processed it, you've let it go, whatever your practice was, you are really ready to see newness of life and not just say, well, I believe that because I heard it. I want you to believe it because you've experienced it. I want to see each one of you grow to your full mastery. Because when you do that, as I say, you lift all of us. And this morning, I seek to tell you to stand in your power. And the way to do that is to realize you did the best you could at the time. And from here on out, you've learned from what was in the past. And remember, the past. It's not now. It was now, it always will be now, but it was still then. Let's not let then decide your now and what you're going to do in the future. You're bigger than anything that's ever happened to you, and you're bigger than anything you've ever done. Forgiveness is a given. That is the Spirit of the living God inside you that forgives because it's never blamed. You may want to ask for, you may want to give an apology to someone. I'm certainly not saying that that's a good idea. But I'm saying give yourself a chance to grow to your full godhood, to your awareness of who you are, to bring the light to the world that needs it right now. It begins one person at a time. And when that's done well, then movements come and they change the face of our world. We need that desperately right now. I affirm you. I believe in you. I see you walking in your own power. I see you in a new and different way. The Christ in me salutes the Christ in you. Together, we take a deep breath. perhaps two. We're aware of where we are. And right now in this meditation, we begin a healing journey. By moving awareness from the thoughts that are in our head to the love that is in our heart, the love that is who we are. We may have many realms inside us that we need to clear, that we need to forgive. But very simply, the Spirit of the living Christ is with us as we do this. We visualize this healing energy as a ball of golden light that is over our heads. And as we feel it become brighter, we're warmed by it. And those things that we have held on to, that may not be for our highest good, we release lovingly. In our journey, we know that we pick up some ideas and concepts and opinions and judgments that really don't reflect the love that we are, the life that we want to live. And right now, we accept abundantly the healing of these thoughts in the pure presence of love. If we need healing in our body, we feel this golden light come to that place, dissolving any sense of dis-ease. If we feel it in our emotions, our minds, we allow that light to illumine those places as we release and let go of those things that we know are not for our highest good. In faith, we accept the newness of life that is ours. We are comfortable with the levels that are inside us. We know that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so we turn to the author and the perfecter of us to help us clear those things that we may not even be aware of. We ask Spirit to illumine those areas, to reach past our human personality and our ego into our beingness. And now we come to the part of our service where we celebrate the blessed law of giving and receiving. You know, the ground gives as the seed is spread, it gives abundantly. And from one seed comes an abundance and a harvest. That's the law of this universe. That's the law of this world. So when we give, we receive. It's really one act. And we celebrate that right now. I ask that you give your best gift, knowing that during these challenging times, that our ministry goes on. And if you're blessed by what we do, and you are heartened by what we do, I ask for you to give your best gift. say our blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I send it forth with my blessings and my love. So it is. Together we stand for our peace song.
Protects us, and the presence of God watches over us